All right, what's up guys? I'm Cam with Ambioc. Today I just wanted to make a real quick video on how I set up my pack if I'm doing just like a one-nighter or a two-nighter. If it's either just for fun or maybe I'm doing a little scouting trip for elk hunting or something like that. I just wanted to kind of quickly go over how I set my pack up and what I carry with me. So stay tuned and we'll get into it. All right, so how I set my pack up, what I carry with it. First off, let's just get into what pack I'm running. So this is the Mystery Ranch Pintler pack. And I've got two different bags and one frame. So I have their Guide Light frame, and then this is the Pintler bag that I put onto it. And I usually run this starting in the springtime. Once it's shed hunting season out here, I switch to this bag. And that's just because I don't need such a big bag when it's so hot, and especially when I'm just day hiking and looking for horns or just kind of doing random fun day hikes like that. I don't need such a big bag because the other bag that I have is a Marshall, and that's like a 6,000 cubic inch bag, which is huge. So for now, it's summertime. This is usually what I'm running, and you know, usually I'm just doing one night or two night adventures, so this is sufficient. If I have to do something any longer than that, then I'll throw my other larger bag on, but for now this works. So I just want to make a quick video and just kind of go through with you guys on what I carry, why I carry it, and just kind of how I run my pack. So if you're either new to backpacking or maybe you're kind of just getting into it or whatever, and maybe you just kind of want to get an idea of some essentials to have with you, and maybe just have some other ideas of how to run stuff, then hopefully this video will help you out. So to start, obviously I have all my sleeping gear, and I have this kind of on the outside. There's not really another way to do it with this bag. My other bag has kind of compartments inside where I can put my sleeping bag and stuff like that, which just helps keep them cleaner, helps keep a little bit of moisture off of them and stuff like that, which is nice. But in this case, I just kind of have to run it on the outside, and if it starts raining or something like that, I can throw a pack cover over it, which helps. So I've got these two kind of big straps over the top, which run around, and one good tip to keep in mind is if you're running stuff like this, even if you have your straps running over this stuff, it could still potentially fall off, so it's a good idea to run your strap through either the cord or something like that, just to make sure that if it comes loose, you don't totally lose it, because I've definitely had that issue before. So first item is sleeping bag, and this is a 0 degree down bag. I think it's by Sierra Designs, but I highly recommend that you guys consider getting like one of these little compression sacks for it. And the reason for that is these sleeping bags take up a lot of room, especially the down ones, because they have so much air and they kind of want to take a bunch of space up. So if you get one of these compression sacks where you can cinch it down, that'll just kind of have it take up less room and just be a little bit easier to mitigate that. Then the next item, I don't see a whole lot of folks running these, but I think they're wonderful, and this is a bivy sack. This one's from North Face, and a bivy sack is basically just a waterproof bag to go around your sleeping bag, so you can go out and just sleep under that, sleep in that. You can sleep under the stars, and this is literally your shelter. So if it's really raining hard or snowing a lot or something like that, a bivy sack is not the best option. But for most weather situations and stuff like that, a bivy is going to work great for you, and it also kind of helps a little bit with the wind and stuff. So as long as you have a pretty decent bag, even if it's pretty chilly out and a little bit windy, you should be fine. I've bivy camped here in Colorado in 5 degree weather where it's snowing and stuff like that, and I've been totally comfortable because my bag is nice and warm and cozy, and I had some warm layers of clothing on as well, so that helped. So I highly recommend that, and if you want a little bit of extra protection, a great way to go if you use trekking poles is you can get one of those trekking pole little tarp tents, and it's basically just a fly that you prop up with your trekking poles and stake down to the ground, and that way you have a little bit more protection from the weather, so you can kind of run your trekking pole tent over you and then just have your sleeping bag stuffed inside the bivy sack under that, and then you have that extra layer of protection, and it still is typically less weight and less space than a normal tent, which is pretty slick. And then last but not least, I have my sleeping pad here. I'm not sure who makes this one. I've had that for a while. That was given to me by my dad, but it's kind of just a pretty standard basic pad. Probably takes up a little bit more room than most people are running, especially people who are ultralight backpackers or ultralight hunters. I've never been too crazy concerned about that. I definitely like to save some weight, but you know, in space. But as far as something like this, it really doesn't bother me that much. I've done 3,000 feet of elevation gain with 80 to 85 pound pack before, and it was awful, of course. But I've kind of learned the hard way to suffer a little bit, and at this point, it doesn't bother me that much, especially if I have like a 40, 50 pound pack. It's really not too bad. So before I get into the small stuff at the top, let's run through this. So I've got a tripod here. This is an awesome tripod setup, and this is for my spotting scope, which I do not always carry with me. This is definitely some extra weight and space. But if I'm glassing animals, especially if I'm going on a hunting scouting trip, I will almost certainly have this with me. It's one of my favorite pieces of gear, and it's very necessary to be able to tell what I'm looking at far away at all when it comes to elk, and seeing if there's any bulls in a herd, how many bulls, what size they are. So this is a ProMaster tripod. Let's see, XC525C carbon tripod, and then I've got the Benro S2 video pan head on there, and that's so that I can pan that spotting scope and do all that fun stuff. So spotting scope is inside the bag, and I will get to that in just a minute. Usually in my other little water bottle sleeve here, I do have an actual water bottle. And this is just a small Nalgene. It's just like a little 14-ounce Nalgene. And I like to have this with me just to have a little bit extra water. So I usually carry a 3-liter Camelback, but even if I'm going for just one night, I tend to go through water pretty good, especially if it's warm and I'm pushing 2,000 feet of elevation or something like that. I like to have a little bit extra water. So what I'll do is I'll fill my Camelback all the way up, especially if I'm not going to have access to water where I'm going. I'll fill my Camelback all the way up, and then I'll fill this all the way up. And it just gives me a little bit of extra water for maybe one of my dehydrated meals or something like that, just so I have that kind of peace of mind and know that I have enough. Or if I want to make some hot chocolate or something like that if it's cold out. So that's pretty much it for the outside. I've got some stuff in these upper, smaller pockets, but I'm going to get into that towards the end. So cool thing about this Pintler bag is you can kind of open it up. It's got their tri-zipper, which is really slick, so you can kind of get to everything without taking everything out if you want. Oh, the last thing that I have on the outside, I usually have a hat carabiner on there. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll keep like a baseball hat like this on the outside, and then I'll wear, especially if it's like really hot and sunny, I'll wear more like a boonie type hat that just gives me better shade. And then if I want to switch to this later or something like that, because sometimes the boonie hat gets a little hot. This is a little bit cooler, so sometimes I'll switch to that. So a couple dehydrated meals here. This is Peak Refuel. I like their stuff. They're really tasty. There's definitely some good options out there. Peak, Backpackers Pantry, Mountain House. I'm really not super partial. I mean, I have my preferences, but usually it's more of an individual meal that I like. Maybe one brand has a beef stroganoff that I like more than another, and vice versa, something like that. So I'm not super particular. I think that they've come a pretty good ways. So now this stuff doesn't all just taste like prison food anymore. They've actually gotten pretty good with them. So usually if I'm doing like a one-nighter, I'll have one dinner meal, I'll have one breakfast meal, and then I'll have a bunch of snacks and stuff for lunch, you know, maybe like a sandwich, stuff like that. So I'll usually have a snack bag, which I like to keep in like a little dry bag or something like that. Is nice to have, and then I'll just kind of pack a bunch of snacks. I usually pack more than I need. I almost never eat all the food that I bring, but I like to have a lot there, and it's kind of nice to have some variety. And you know, I get kind of bored of eating the same stuff, so if I have a bunch of options, even if I don't eat it all, at least I have something to choose from, which is kind of nice. If I'm going to carry a water filter, I pretty much always carry a gravity filter. So this is a Katadyn 6-liter gravity bag filter. I've totally gone that route 95% of the time, especially if I'm going to be, you know, especially elk hunting and stuff. If we're going to have a base camp or a place where we're sleeping for multiple nights, I mean, there is no better option than a gravity filter. It's the quickest and easiest. You can fill a bunch of water up, 6 liters, hang it, let gravity do the work for you, And it also, I've found, has pretty much the fastest flow. So it'll fill up your bags and stuff like that, like your CamelBaks, the quickest. And you can just do the little quick attach and then just leave your CamelBak and go do something else and let it fill up for 7 minutes or whatever it takes. And it's pretty slick. So almost always go that route. I do have a little pump filter, and I've used like tabs and stuff like that before, but I've found that the gravity filter works great, and I've found that I'm also able to fill this bag up even off some really small streams with some little small trickles. I've still been able to use this, so it's a great option. I highly recommend that you guys go with that. Stove system, Jetboil is pretty much my go-to. I've been rocking these for a long time now. If I'm backpacking, as far as meals go, I'm pretty much always eating a dehydrated meal. And all you need is boiling water, and this does it the quickest, and I've found is pretty much almost the most compact, efficient system I think that there is. So they're great. And then of course, if it's cold, you can always make yourself some hot chocolate, stuff like that. So Jetboil is wonderful. And then here is the spotting scope. This thing is huge and heavy. If I can get away without it, obviously I don't want to take it, but there's definitely trips, especially scouting trips for hunting, where I just need it with me. And it is what it is. So this is the Razor, the Vortex Razor HD. It's a 20 to 60 power spotting scope. It's great. For the price, especially for what I got it on sale, I don't think you can beat it unless you really want to spend $3,000 to $4,000 on glass. I got this for 1,100 bucks on sale. And I've scouted and looked at bull elk that are 2 miles across a giant canyon, and I can tell that they're bull, and I can tell about what size they are, which is pretty amazing. So it's really cool, and it's fun too. Just sometimes I'll set it up on my porch of my place, and I'll look at birds or whatever, and the clarity is just great. So it's super fun. That's one piece of gear that I'm just so glad that I have. It was a game changer, and I'll hopefully never go without one again. So just a few more items here, at least inside the bag, just clothing. And I didn't put all the clothing that I would normally take with me, but normally, I'll have, depending on where I'm going and what I think the weather's gonna be, just some extra layers. I'll have a vest, rain jacket, maybe a warm base layer, maybe some warm pants this time of year, but probably not. Usually it's not bad, and if there's a really crappy storm that comes in or something, and I know the temperature is really going to drop, I can just hunker down in the sleeping bag or just under a tarp, and usually I'm going to be just fine. And that brings me to my last item, which is in the bottom of the bag, which I like to throw in a little kind of almost man-sized tarp. I think it's like 6 feet by 8 feet or something like that. And I'll just kind of always have that in there just in case. And sometimes I'll bring that tarp and I won't bring rain gear, even in these mountains here. Even if I know it might rain a little bit, I'll just have that tarp with me. And if it starts to rain, I can either get under some trees and just hunker down under that tarp for a little bit or whatever. But it's nice to have, and it's definitely a safety thing too. So I highly recommend you have some sort of little tarp with you, and it really doesn't take up that much room, and it really doesn't weigh that much either. So, okay, so last things here, kind of all the little personal goodies. So here in this small pouch up top, I've got 2 pouches up top. So the one, I've kind of got like all the little, kind of almost like toiletries. So I've got sunscreen, I've got a little travel size, like travel toothbrush. This thing's got just a mess in here too. I had something leak out in here, which kind of sucks, but a lighter, toothpaste, and then I have a few extra batteries for a headlamp. And then in this one, I've got my headlamp. I've got a nice big wad of toilet paper, as well as a small pack of wet wipes. I highly recommend. That is such a game changer. If you have not gone that route yet when it comes to backpacking and especially hunting, please do yourself a favor and get some wet wipes. You will thank yourself. It really feels like taking a shower up there after a couple days, and I never used to use them, and it got pretty heinous up there. So I highly recommend just grab a pack of wet wipes and then just take like 3 or 4 of them out of there and just put them in a Ziploc baggie, and they'll stay moist, and you will love your life. Last few items, sunscreen, chapstick, and then this is just a little waterproof pack cover. So if it gets crappy out and I'm still hiking and my sleeping gear's up here and stuff, I can just open this pack cover up and just kind of cinch that around the pack, and that'll just keep my sleeping gear and stuff from getting wet. And then usually I have this kind of little titanium spork with me, and that's just basically what I use for my dehydrated meals, or if I need to mix up hot chocolate or whatever. That's what I got. Sometimes I will carry an extra headlamp with me. It kind of depends. If I'm hunting and I know I'm going to be out there for 4 or 5 days and I know how crucial it is to have light, I'll probably bring an extra headlamp and extra batteries. If it's just like an overnighter here and I'm just doing a little quick scouting trip for one night or something like that, I usually won't bring an extra headlamp. Usually I'll have one headlamp and one extra set of batteries. And then I almost forgot just a couple more items that I'll actually have in my person just to wrap this up. So always have a bino harness. And even if I don't, bring my spotting scope, I'll always bring my bino harness. So this guy I'll be carrying on me while I'm hiking. A little bit of extra weight, a little bit of extra discomfort, but it's not that big a deal. And I've found over the years that having my binos just this close and available and ready has just been such a game changer. And everything from, you know, seeing elk or just looking at a cool wildlife or whatever it is. Shed hunting, I use these all the time. So they're wonderful, and I love having them right here. And you can also stuff a couple extra items in the side, which is pretty nice too. And last but not least, I have my .45 pistol, which I pretty much always carry. I do a decent amount of kind of solo adventures and just hiking around these mountains and backpacking by myself. And I'm almost always off trail, so it's kind of nice to have protection. I have actually had to shoot at an animal's general direction. I've had to shoot at a bear before just to scare him off because he was acting pretty sketchy with me. So I have used it before, and I'm glad that I had it. And this is just got a little kind of basic universal holster. So what I'll do is I'll have my backpack on, and then my backpack has these little straps that run around the waist, and I'll just clip it onto one of the straps. So it'll just kind of hang there, and it's pretty available. And I've found that's kind of the best route, just because, you know, I can't like actually wear it on my belt because then the straps of the backpack will go around it. And so that's kind of the way that I found is the easiest so far to have that accessible, but not have it be too much of a pain when you're changing clothes or have to take your bag on and off and stuff like that. Hopefully I can find maybe a better solution at some point, but so far that's pretty much it. So that's the loadout. Maybe I'll do one, you know, closer to hunting season. I think I might do a more involved one with all my hunting gear, and I'll just kind of show you guys what my bag looks like and what I'm carrying for that. But for the most part, that's what I would carry with me overnight or for a couple nights, and that usually gets me through pretty much everything that I need. I live here in southwestern Colorado, and we have some of the most beautiful mountains, I think, in the United States, and I've been on so many cool adventures, and I feel incredibly lucky to be living in this place that I do, and I can't wait to get out there and see some more. So I hope this video was at least interesting to you, or maybe you learned something or picked up on something you could bring in your bag. Try out some new gear. You know, gear's what it's all about, I think. You know, it's all this stuff can be such an expensive hobby, especially hunting and all that. But I've found that as long as you're using the stuff that you buy and that it's making a difference, you know, and you're putting it to the test and you're getting out there and really, you know, hiking around a lot and getting yourself out in the weather and kind of pushing your comfort zone a little bit, I really don't think there's any harm in having some awesome gear. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned. We'll be putting out a lot more. Thanks.